So today I'm going to work with stencils. I'm going to first start with this 3-layered stencil from Pink Fresh Studios, where they all come in one package. You get the flowers, then it's some flower centers plus some small flowers, and then the leaves. So it makes it really easy to do those 3 steps in different colors of ink. So here's one example of how that comes out. So the large flowers, which are actually this direction with a stencil, I must have done it that way. Yeah, like that. So I first started with this lighter purple. Then you put down the next one for the centers. You can see with a darker purple through there. So now you've got your 2 layers of flowers. And then you put down the last layer for the green of your leaves, or whichever colors that you want to use. This particular set also comes with a coordinating stamp. So the stamp is this full spray of flowers, but it gives you all the little line details and outlines, which is beautiful as well. There's also the option of the die, which cuts this whole piece out, which is beautiful too. But the nice thing that I like about it is that you can interchange them. You can use it with the die, without, with the stamp, without, just the stamp by itself, color it in, or using this stencil. So I'm going to show you how to do this, not only doing this design, but multiple size cards and switching up the design a little bit. So for this card, I'm going to use Kish Flamingo, Abandoned Coral, and Crushed Olive. I've used these 2 in combination before with a different design, and I quite like those 2 together. Okay, so I'm going to put in my first color here of the Kish Flamingo for this larger portion of the flowers. And I like to just do it light and then build up the layers. And I am using this type of a applicator that's got the little fine hairs. It's like thousands of tiny little hairs on there that makes it a really nice blend. on this card base, I'm going to demonstrate how you can take a stencil and lengthen it to fit the slimline card. So this is one of the Tim Holtz stencils, and as you can see, it's not quite the full length of a slimline card, but we'll make it work. This may not work with every single design you have, but a lot of the stencils you can do this technique with it to make it work. So I'm going to put down my stencil for my first bit here. And what color should we do on here? What's something that's going to show up? Let's do this Wild Honey. One of my favorite colors. So I am lining up the edge of my stencil because I'm going to be moving it down, right? I'm lining up the edge of my stencil with the edge of the paper, and that's just going to make it super easy for me to line that up. And rather than have you watch me ink everywhere, I'm going to kind of just ink the edges a little darker, and we'll have it go a little bit lighter into the center. Because you can already imagine what it would be like if I stenciled the whole design there. And I'm not being real careful. If you were actually doing this for a project, of course, you'd put a little more time into it to make it a little bit more even. But okay, so there we are with the full length of our stencil we've used up. And doesn't that look kind of neat where it fades off to nothing in the center? So you could easily put a design, like your flowers, something like this flower stencil, right down that center, or a sentiment on there. Anyways, what we're going to do now is shift this down so that we can get the design to go right to the bottom of our card. And again, I'm going to line this edge of the stencil up with the edge of my card, and I just want some place where the pattern meets where I've already stenciled. And there we go. So now, whoops, I just shifted it. Now we're just going to continue that design on to the bottom. And once I'm at the bottom of my card base there, I'll just go across the bottom to get that design to continue. There you go. So we stretched that design so it would go all the way down. So you could see even on a scrapbook page, you could just keep moving this down until, well, you'd only have to move it twice and you're going to be at your 12 inches. But regardless of how long your piece of paper is, you can just make that work to go longer. So that's kind of neat. And I also like how that it's darker on the edges, faded in the center. And you saw how I did that. I just started by applying it on the edge and going into the center. So where I set it down on the edge, it's going to be darker because it gets repeated more often. So of course this is not quite ready to do into a card. Since my design goes right to the bottom of the paper, I would trim this so that it goes to the edge on all of them and then lay that down on my card base. In fact, we could do that. Leaving less to the imagination, and let's just see what it's going to look like here. And I didn't cut that straight. Whew, no, it's really not straight, so straighten it out by doing all 4 sides. There, and now you can see where you've put that down. Of course, now I'd have to chop a little bit off there to make it square, right? And if you were doing this for a proper card, you'd measure, because now I've probably taken off too much. But for the purposes of demonstrating the idea, that's not too bad. And something like this, I would even take the ink and ink up the edges here. We can go with the pad just to make it quicker. That just helps to kind of finish it off. And it's almost like it puts a little bit of a border between that and the white card base. And there you have. Then you're ready to put your focal point and do some embellishing on it. So that's just another way to use your stencil. Stretch it for the stretched out cards. And then the other thing I wanted to show you, so another way that you can just change up your stencils. The more looks you can get out of one tool, I just like that, where you can get more than one look out of the same thing. So here, I'm going to use that same stencil, and I'll actually go with the same color too. So I'm going to stencil right across this. Not stencil, I'm going to ink right across this stencil. And I'm doing this kind of fast and sloppy. If I was doing it neater, I would try to get an even blend going across, which is pretty easy to do actually. But you see where I put my tool down, and then it gives me a lot, gives me more ink in the spot where I set it down, so you get a bit of a blob there. Or you can do this, knock off a little bit of the strong ink. Okay, so there we have our standard use of the stencil. But you can also flip it to go backwards. Like I just flipped it upside down, right? That's the direction we went. And now I'm just going to flip it the other way and check out what that does. Now, I have myself almost going dizzy with it. And check that out, here comes the reveal. And now we have a plaid. So a couple different designs, or a couple different looks, just from that one stencil. So I hope you take a look at the stencils you've got at home and see what you have that could have multiple uses or get a variety of patterns out of it. This one just makes me think of plaid, so doing it in multiple colors may look really cool as well. So there's a couple different looks, different sizes, all out of one stencil. Thanks for watching.